What's up, you guys? Welcome to episode 492 of the Established Run NBA podcast. I'm Mike Gallagher with Drew Dinkmeyer to talk about capitulation. The NFL guys have made this word very famous. Every time I hear that word, I always think of them. We are going to do our version for three things we are willing to capitulate on and three things we are not quite ready to capitulate on with some of our preseason takes. Should be really fun. A lot of overlap here. Dink, how's it going?
It's always fun. When I think of Evan Silva, I think of a man who elevates words from the dictionary and brings them to life in a way like a true poet, a true scholar of language. And Evan Silva has reinvigorated the word capitulation in my life in the last few years. So I'm here to talk some premature capitulation 2 weeks into the NBA season.
Yeah, so we'll talk some team central stuff. We'll talk some player specific stuff. So something for everyone. People who bet some of our win total stuff, some people who took to our preseason fantasy stuff, best ball, all that. We'll have it all here. So let's do the stuff that we're ready to capitulate on first here. Kind of start with I think the heavy hitters, biggest regrets, things that you're like, oh God, I got this wrong so bad. We're 8 games into the season for some teams. 10% of the way there, got a pretty good feel for stuff. A lot of teams talk about 10-game samples. So, Dink, what is the first thing you're ready to capitulate on?
One of the things that I had kind of talked about when we did the Southeast Divisional preview this year was that I was kind of worried about the vibes with the Miami Heat and how, sometimes coaches, they can kind of lose their voice over a long time, especially when you have like roster continuity and the same coach. And I really think Erik Spoelstra, in the way that they've kind of opened up and changed the offense entirely, has them playing with like a lot of joy and a lot of fun early in the season. And they've been playing without Tyler Hero. It'll be interesting to see how Tyler Hero adapts to a scheme that doesn't have a lot of ball screens because he's so used to playing in the pick and roll. But they've started off the season pretty well, 4-4, but a plus 4.8 point differential. And they've played 6 of their 8 games on the road so far against like pretty darn good competition. Like if you looked at the start of their schedule, this was part of the reason that I was a little bit concerned that the vibes could go pretty quickly. It was at Orlando, at Memphis, home versus New York, home versus Charlotte, at San Antonio, at Lakers, at Clippers, at Denver to start the season. Like for me, that looked like 2-6 and like maybe the start of like a really tough season. And they've managed it really well. Jaime Jaquez has been exceptional in the second unit as like a lead ball handler, like a microwave scorer as well. Davion is bringing a lot of energy defensively. Bam has kind of been his usual self. They do have a foot injury that Bam left with last night's game. He did return home, and unfortunately Spoelstra's house burned down, so the vibes did turn quickly in the last like 12 hours here. But I think just in general, the way that the Miami Heat are playing this season, a lot more joy, a lot more free flowing. Like Andrew Wiggins, this is an offense that's like kind of built for Andrew Wiggins, right? In terms of like, he doesn't want ball screens. He just wants to be able to drive and attack and then see if he can create something for himself or for others. And I think Norman Powell is really benefiting. Like, I think this offense, the way that they're playing really fits the personnel that they have. And it's a credit to that Miami coaching staff that's been so good for so long. I am ready to capitulate that I was wrong on the vibes being off in Miami and this being potentially like a tear down year. They look like they're going to be, similarly competitive to what they've been the last few years. And they look like a team that is playing with more joy and energy in sort of a way that they looked right before they went out and acquired Jimmy Butler originally, where they had this team that was sort of like, they felt like they were stuck with Hassan Whiteside and Josh Richardson, all these big contracts that they had signed, and felt like they were stuck and they were going to be stuck for a while. And that's kind of what I felt. And then they like started playing these young guys that played with like enthusiasm and energy. And then they traded for Jimmy Butler. And all of a sudden it was like, oh, okay, they're okay again. And that's kind of the vibes that I'm feeling with the Miami Heat right now.
Yeah, a lot of teams are like tired playing them. Jokic said an encore interview talking about how they were just so worn down, getting drive out over and over and over again. Thought that was really in context. And yeah, you could see the scheme is pretty fun. They're first in pace. As you noted, they're third in strength of schedule against, not even counting home road. So, yeah, they're definitely playing pretty tough. Definitely think this is pretty sustainable as well. So, yeah, pretty fun brand of basketball. I'm with you there. My first one to capitulate on is, if Austin was here, we have to start with this one. We were way too low on the Lakers. I am like full on. All my bets are done. Like, nice to see you, money. I enjoyed you while I had you. This seems too good. They're too good in the pick and roll. They're too good in transition defense. Like, the fact that the Lakers are really good in transition defense and getting back, that like takes them to another level. Skinny Luka. We said it. If we lose this bet, Skinny Luka just dominates. Skinny Luka's absolutely dominating, like arguably firmly in the mix for MVP. DeAndre Ayton looks motivated. Rui Hachimura is fantastic. Jake LaRavie looks like one of the best offseason low-key signings of this. Austin Reeves, I haven't even talked about him yet. He's been just as good as Luka when he has the opportunities as well. He's a little banged up, but be fine. And they don't even have LeBron yet. So I'm done. Like that 47.5 is toast. Nice knowing you. They're here to stay. They're going to be a top 3 seed. I've like fully capitulated. This team's really good.
Yeah, I'm with you here. I didn't feel as strongly as you guys did. I was a little bit worried about the skinny Luka thing, but I will note like Luka's only played in 5 of their 9 games. Austin Reeves has only played in 7 of their 9 games, and LeBron James has played in 0 of their 9 games, and they are 7-2, and they've done it with like it's a schedule that's been slanted slightly more favorable home, but it's been a tough schedule. Like it, they've gone and gotten wins in Minnesota and Memphis without key players. They they lost opening night to Golden State at home. They win in Portland on the second night of a back-to-back against like a Portland team that has generally played well against the rest of the league. Very, very impressive start to the season. And I think it would be easy to say like, we just underestimated skinny Luka. He's only played 5 of the 9 games.
Yeah.
I think we've underestimated the entirety of the team. Austin Reeves obviously was exceptional in the games that Luka did not play. But even in the games that Luka and Austin Reeves did not play, this team is very well coached. And I think this is a credit to JJ Redick in his second year of like getting this team to play with energy and competitiveness every night in a way that is like they are playing above their athletic expectations in terms of like the roster, which we thought was one that would be vulnerable to transition. We thought was one that did not have sort of the type of bounce and athleticism throughout the roster that's going to hold up over the course of the season. Maybe we'll see some of that, but they've weathered an incredible storm early in the season. And I think that's a testament to not only Luka's exceptionalism, not only Austin Reeves' great growth, but to the coaching staff in LA in terms of how they're getting these guys to compete in a way that I thought would be an issue. And so, yeah, like this is a team, like they're getting great performances from Nick Smith Jr. out of nowhere and players that
Jackson Hayes has been playing pretty well.
Like everybody's kind of buying in. And I think really shout out to JJ Redick, who I think has done an awesome job with the Lakers with a roster that I felt like was like, not that great. And I think that the easiest thing to look back on and say is like Luka was carrying, Dallas teams that weren't that great to 50 wins. Ultimately, like he can carry this team to 50 wins, especially if he's like in the prime of his career and fit and like back to where he was from a scoring perspective. And certainly that's part of it, but he's only played in 5 of the 9 games. That's not the main part of it. The main part of it is they are getting contributions throughout the roster in a way that we thought depth of the roster was the issue. It is not showing to be an issue early in the season.
Yep, I'm with you there. So go ahead with your second ready to capitulate.
Ready to capitulate. Similarly, this is back to the win totals. We were optimistic on the New Orleans Pelicans, winners of 2 straight. So maybe we can suck out on the win totals stuff, maybe. But we were, we didn't believe in fit Luka. We did believe in fit Zion. Fit Zion has a hamstring issue now. The roster as a whole, the concerns that we had in terms of like how it would meld together are rearing their heads very early on. Not only in the front court where we had all these concerns about like how does Derek Queen play with Zion Williamson, play with Kevon Looney, how does that impact Yves Missi, and like that is getting sort of filtered out by availability right now. But even in the backcourt, like Jeremiah Fears, the rookie that they drafted, plays an awful lot like Jordan Poole, and Jordan Poole and Jeremiah Fears together is just not really working at all. And so the strength of these like role players that they have in Herb Jones and Trey Murphy and Sadiq Bey, that we really, really like these role players that they have, are getting kind of overwhelmed by a lack of continuity and organization offensively. Like possessions just don't look like they're running plays. They look very kind of like haphazard and kind of how they even get into position. And basically like all that they're going to at the end of games, last 2 games, is basically dribble handoffs with Derek Queen at the top of the key. And it's like, okay, like we'll run offense out of there. It's one thing that they like. I think the coaching has been awful. I think the roster build is awful. And I think the combination of those 2 things usually leads to underperformance of expectation. And I like individual pieces of this roster, but the ones that are getting focus, like Poole Fears, they need to be able to figure out because they traded for Poole and Fears is their first round pick. And then Queen Zion, they need to be able to figure out. And like the Queen Zion pairing hasn't been terrible, But Queen Looney hasn't played very much together. It doesn't look like it can play together. And then Misi, like, how does he fit into all this? So it's just like,
Mm-hmm.
it looks real bad. And obviously we can focus on the trading of the first round pick to Atlanta, which we'll talk about a little bit more when I get into another one of my not ready to capitulate areas. But I think in general, like, this Pelicans team, the path to them leading up to our expectations of, like, there's ways that you can squint at this roster and be like, okay, I can see them competing for a play-in spot. That path seems very narrow now because I don't have a lot of confidence in Willie Green to sort it out in this, like, immediate demotion of Jordan Poole early in the season for Jeremiah Fears, and then, like, immediately pulling back on how much you trust Jeremiah Fears and playing a bunch of Jose Alvarado. I think it's all bad. Like, I think it's a clear sign of, like, not trusting guys to be in roles that you can grow into. And it's a clear sign of sort of like chaos, dysfunction, and making decisions from a feeling of, like, urgency in terms of you being on the hot seat, with which Willie Green is doing. So, like, maybe they'll make a coaching change in the season that will stabilize things to some extent, but I'm not optimistic on them finding something that's going to stabilize the ship, because there's a lot of parts that need stabilization, need, like, kind of a heavy hand.
Yeah, I'll add a couple things. So you talk about pushing up Jordan Poole, pushing up Jeremiah Fears, pushing up Derek Queen. You're pushing down Trey Murphy. Like, your best player, his usage rate's down, his 3-point rate's, like, okay. He should be getting his shots more. It's very odd. And then is maybe Kevon Looney like a system player, because he obviously small sample, but, like, he does not look right what the schemes are running. So yeah, I'm with you. I don't have a lot of Pelican stuff, but we have a lot of Murphy, but I don't know. Definitely feels pretty bad. That win total thing is dead. I actually cashed out my playoff ticket.
I think the playoff stuff is dead. I think the win total, like, the light's a little bit on, but not. I mean, just a little smidge of light still on that one.
Yeah, for sure. So let me go to my second one. I'm gonna my number one on this is I was too high on Ace Bailey. I oh god, Steve Mikhailov's not gonna be in the way for long. He's going to be in the way for a while now. I mean, Will Hardy last night, half of his press conference was talking about how good Steve Mikhailov is to the locker room, how important it is to give him minutes to kind of be a quote-unquote model for their young guys. Like, we're talking about Steve Mikhailov, man. This guy's been a journeyman around the league, and Ace can't ice him. Will Hardy talked him down, saying that, you know, he's like, they don't want to, like, they want to make him a good NBA player first, not change who he is. He's just not an NBA player yet. We kind of knew he might take a bit, but, like, we know now. So I don't think I'm ready to, like, don't, like, drop him or anything. But, like, I thought the runway would clear out a little earlier. It's not. So capitulating that. I'm not capitulating yet on, like, the late season impact, but the early season impact I for sure am. And where I wanted to draft him, I was expecting stuff early. So capitulation there, just to kind of type some other stuff. Too low on Lauri Markkanen, 30 points per game. He's been fantastic. Keontae George, my guy, him and another guy I'm going to talk about were, like, my first two picks in the My Guy draft last year. I was so far ahead of market, and I gave up a little too early on Keontae George. I was still a little ahead of market, but I wish I stuck with it. So ready to capitulate and just kicking myself for not having Keontae as my guy.
Yeah, I think on the Jazz front, I think there was a lot of signaling that there would be tough love on Ace Bailey from the moment they drafted him. It was basically like, we don't care that you don't want to be here. We're going to take you, and we're going to put you into a system that's going to make you a good NBA player. And I think in the preseason, we saw it was a system that was designed to get him moving off the ball and get him kind of, you know, catching the ball on the move instead of, like, playing an ISO. And I think we were excited about the way that they were crafting a system to really enhance his skill set. I'm still excited about those aspects of it, but we sort of forgot the tough love aspects of things that were going to be here, that they were sort of starting from, basically from the start. Like, the reason you were falling in the draft is because of the way that you've approached things. We need to change the way that you approach things to maximize your talent. And that friction is always going to be a challenge for a player to kind of adapt to. And so I think they are spending a lot of the early portion of the season trying to humble Ace Bailey. And then I think you will see in the second half of the season a lot of opportunity for him. I think all these comments that they have about, like, Svi and whatever, it is specifically to Ace Bailey. They are talking to Ace Bailey through the media with all of these comments. So I don't expect that to be, I think these are all tools to try to get the best out of Ace Bailey. Whether he fights it or relents and sort of, like, gets on board, I think will ultimately determine how successful his rookie season is. But I'm not worried about, like, Will Hardy loves Svi Mikhailuk and like Ace Bailey's not getting an opportunity. I think this is all coded messaging that's like very, very specific and short term in nature. Keontae's been exceptional early in the season and like in a way that I would have never expected for a player to be so inefficient, to like really improve his efficiency this year, his ability to get to the free throw line, which has really kind of changed things for him. And so like last year, he shot 39% his first 2 years in the league. He shot up to 42% this year, and he's getting the line 9.3 times per game compared to 3.5. And so like his overall efficiency is just way, way more like that's tolerant. You can shoot 42% if you get to the line that much, because your true shooting percentage is just going to be much, much better. So his true shooting percentage has moved from like 54% to 59%. That's like a huge, huge jump. And it's a good note with like that. Look, he's a young guard, right? Was one of the youngest guards in the league when he was drafted. He's still 22. So like these jumps are something that maybe we could have expected more. There was increasing competition, so like I understand the pause button. But I will say, in terms of talking about Ace Bailey, all the comments that Keontae's made this year in interviews and stuff is basically like they reamed me out in my exit interview last year and told me like I was not an NBA level player because of all these things. And I took it to heart and got better at these things. I think that is a strong sign for what they're trying to do with Ace Bailey. Like they just got positive reinforcement in how Keontae George reacted to that. And that's the example that they're trying to set with Ace Bailey, which could make it a rougher ride for the course of the season. And then Lowry, it's just always with Lowry, it's going to be games played. Like he's awesome.
Yep.
He's a really, really good player. He seems to play his best when he has these Eurobasket years where he's working with the Finnish team and then he comes into ready to go. So I get it, but like on the Lowry side, it's just a games played aspect, and we'll see how that develops over the course of the season.
Yeah, so go ahead with your last thing you're ready to capitulate on.
All right, I'm ready to capitulate that the Mavs aren't good. I think while we're talking about the Lakers being good, we had talked about the Mavs, like their roster was just too good and too deep not to be like a top 8 team in the West, essentially. Like I think we all had them around 7 or 8 essentially in our West seedings. Obviously it's been hampered by having Anthony Davis hurt early in the season. It's been hampered by having Derek Lively hurt early in the season. It's been hampered by Cooper Flagg playing out of position and not playing particularly well early in the season. It's been hampered by what Jason Kidd would note as a lack of continuity and performance at the point guard position. And I think one of the things that I'm like really learning about the NBA over the last few years is how important guard play is. Like we've talked about this a lot, or people have talked about this a lot in college basketball with respect to like the NCAA tournament. Like veteran guard play is really what you need to like advance. If you look at like all of the best teams, over the last 5 years or so, or the teams that have taken like a really big step forward in terms of under like outperforming expectations, it's been like surprising jumps from guards, right? Like Boston kind of took it to the next level when Derek White was playing like at a really high level. Cleveland started to take it to the next level when Darius Garland like really started to figure out things for himself and go from like an inefficient young player to like an efficient offensive player. And I think the lack of competent guard play, like there's just not an option in that room until Kyrie Irving gets healthy. And so like I understand they were excited about Brandon Williams. They've been excited about Jaden Hardy. They've been excited about Ryan Nembhard. They've had moments with D'Angelo Russell. I don't think they're going to get competent guard play out of those guys. And I think it's really a lot to ask for Cooper Flagg to acclimate from never being a point guard to playing point guard on the fly. And so I think, and also like, yeah, Derek Lively's hurt. Guess what? Derek Lively's almost always hurt. So like Derek Lively's hurt. Anthony Davis is hurt. These are things that like have been the norm for the Mavs. And so like, I think we're now starting to see how vulnerable they were to some of their typically not the most durable players being durable. And I think how vulnerable they are to bad roster construction that has left them, basically without a point guard that is stable. And that lack of stability, I think, is really hurting them late in games. Like you see, they can kind of play with anybody, and then late in games, they kind of fade just generally. And like that happened last night against the Pels, like not a great team. And it was at home for Dallas, and Pels are on a back-to-back. And like they were kind of in control that whole game until the fourth quarter, and then they faded. And it was poor point guard play. Like D'Angelo Russell played terribly last night. So I think they're just very vulnerable to not having solid enough guard play. And I think the West is already starting to get away from them, and Anthony Davis's health is already a concern. So I'm ready to capitulate that I don't think the Mavs are going to be good this season. I thought their floor was much higher than it is. Essentially, like I thought their floor was finishing at like 8, 9, 10 in the West, and I do not think that's the case anymore.
Yeah, they're last in offense. Like we talked about how bad the Nets are, how bad the Pacers are right now, how bad the Pelicans are. They're last. They're dead last, and they're not getting enough shots up. They're turning the ball over. Teams are gaining at the rim at will. Teams are rebounding. We talked about how big they were. They're one of the worst teams at limiting offensive rebounds. They're terrible. Like they're absolutely terrible. I don't know how they fix this. Cooper Flagg will definitely come on later. We'll talk about him in a little bit. But yeah, I mean they're terrible. It's not like they face like that great of teams either, as you were noting. So yeah, I think it's over. Like I feel like they're. I don't know if they're going to start tanking or what. They're probably not going to, but yeah, I feel if I'm a Mavs fan and the Mavs fan I follow on Twitter, they are losing it. And I think it's
Oh, I
deserved.
mean, like you're watching Luka live his best
Yeah,
life in LA. I mean, it's a lot to deal with. And thank God they got Cooper Flagg, which we'll talk more about Cooper Flagg in a little bit. But thank God they got Cooper Flagg. If they didn't get Cooper Flagg,
yeah,
do we understand how apocalyptic this would be for Mavs fans if they did not have Cooper Flagg? Like
yeah,
it's real bad.
yeah. Actually, my favorite stat to tie into the Lakers. So pick and roll handler possessions per possession. Lakers first 1.16. That would shatter the record since it's been tracked 1.03 from guess what, the Mavericks in 2003 with Luka there. Last in pick and roll handler possessions, the Mavericks 0.63 points per possession. Just horrible, horrible guard play. My last one is a guy I was really high on. Your guy, Jaren Jackson Jr. I was so high on him. I had him, I think, at 28. The usage is so down. The spacing, this offense is so bad. They have John Morant and Jaren, and then teams just load up everywhere else. Like, okay, KCP, go for it. Oh, Jalen Wells, go for shoot your shot over there. Oh, Jock Lando is sitting in the paint. Okay, I don't care. We got one guy covering. We don't need to even load up down there. Just let him do his thing and brick a freaking 7-footer. I've got concerns. I think it might get right, but as far as being like a 2-3 turn guy, I'm capitulating there. I think he's more of like maybe a 3-4, maybe even a mid 4. The minutes have not been strong. That'll get better, but really don't like this offense right now. The offense in general is a problem. I was too high on John Morant as well, but I was really high in every format on Jaren Jackson. Their offense is 26th. They're not running anymore. They're not getting, they're just not running the same offense, and it's really hurt Jaren Jackson. They need more spacing out there. I don't know if Zach Edey is going to help there, but yeah, I feel really bad about being very high on Jaren Jackson. I think he'll be fine. He's actually shooting the ball really well this year to boost up his
That's what I was
value.
Say. Yeah.
Yeah, but the usage and I don't know. It just feels really bad, especially for best ball where we want the counting stats. I'm ready to capitulate that I was a little too high on Jaren Jackson.
That's what I was going to say. I'm not as ready on this one, but on the team level stuff is where more of my concerns are than at the player level stuff. So as you alluded to, like Jaren shooting the ball fine, shooting 52% from the field, 38% from three. He's blocking shots again, 1.7 blocks per game right now, which is higher than the 1.5 and 1.6 the previous years. The steals haven't been there, which is frustrating. And the fouls have been a big problem, but he's at 17 points per game. He hasn't been at this threshold since his third or fourth year in the season, or third or fourth year in the league, where he was like a 21, 22-year-old and playing on a team that had like everybody. And so it's very confusing that the usage is down so much. If you look at his usage rate this year, it's at 22%. That is a career low. His rookie year, he was at 22.8%. He hasn't been below 24% since that rookie year. And the last 2 years, he had been at 28 and 30%. So 22% is wild. And they basically asked after the game with John Morant, like, what do you need to do to get Jaren Jackson more involved? Because Jaren was saying, I need to be more aggressive. I just need to be more aggressive. And Ja was basically like, we just don't have the caliber of players on the floor to be able to get Jaren the ball in the spots that he needs, which is a wild thing to say, just generally. But that's just a number of wild things that Ja has been saying of late. And I think that's the bigger concern for me is the vibes are really, really off on Memphis. And I don't know how much of that is tied to Ja versus like the whole team vibes. It's like we saw like Zach Edey taking them to the World Series games and like everybody was happy, but Ja wasn't there. And like, I don't like, I'm worried that Ja has become like a little bit of a poison pill within this organization and the vibes right now, and I think it's impacting everybody. I think there are like rotation things that they can do to tighten up. Like once Edie gets back, I think things will be a lot better at that center spot than Jock Landale. I think they could play Landale less and play Aldama a little bit more. Like they're not playing Aldama enough, who's the only other guy that like has much offensive threat to them. I think they could emphasize Coward a little bit more over the KCP and Wells group, and I think they will. So, like, I think there's ways that this will ultimately get fixed for Jaren, but I'm just worried that the vibes with Ja, if those aren't fixable, it might leak into the whole team for a while, and that's the thing I'm worried about. Like, Ja is starting to follow that playbook of like make it messy so that the organization has to trade you, the Jimmy Butler playbook, and that is what worries me about Jaren right now. I'm not fully ready to capitulate on my guy, but there are warning signs for sure.
Do you think? I don't know. I was thinking about this before we hopped on. Do you think this is Ja's way of saying like get Jock Landale out of the starting lineup? To talk about how bad this. He always talks about bad spacing. Like Jock Landale's terrible for spacing. Like just freaking start Santi Aldama and like you're getting killed on the boards anyways. So what the hell? I don't understand that.
I think it's more than that. I think that is something that he could have a simple conversation with the coach. I mean, maybe he has, and maybe it didn't go well, and maybe that led to this. I don't know, but like this feels like a bigger thing, than the other part of it right now for Ja is like, he was really frustrated last year that they like changed this offensive system to the way that Miami was playing without all the screens and stuff, and then they end up like changing coaches and they go really screen heavy. They don't have a good screen setter right now. So like that's where Edie like I think fixes a number of things on this, is that Edie's like such a good screen setter, and I think that'll make things easier for Ja, and I think that'll create more space for Jaren as well. But we're still a few games away from that. But I think there's like a bigger thing going on here with Ja, which is strange. Like, I was listening to Chris Vernon on Zach Lowe's podcast and talking about how like Ja is so committed to Memphis just generally, like in terms of how he's been like committed to Memphis from the start, and this has just been a weird turn. And so like I don't know why it's happening, but it's alarming that it's happening, because I think if the vibes get right, I think Ja and Jaren can have massive years like we thought coming in, but the vibes are really off right now.
Yeah, I'll close with the Jaren and Santi Aldama offense has been pretty good. They're like 114 per 100 possessions. And then just should note, Jaren and Ja are 101.4 together. So definitely interesting. Ja's also missing a lot of shots right now there. So, all right, let's go to the stuff we're not ready to capitulate on here. I'll go first this time. I'm actually going to change my answer, Dink. I was going to say Hawks. I'm going to say Cavs. I'm going to say I'm not ready to capitulate. The Cavs offense is going to be like okay. They were basically record-setting last year, and then they've been bad. They were like 25th in offense, waiting for Darius Garland to come back, and then Darius Garland comes back, and they look like the top offense in the NBA. We saw them drive at will against the Sixers defense without Embiid, not very good. Certainly a low bar against a team that's giving up ball handling stuff all day. But I was a little bit worried about the Cavs offense because we were high on Mobley. We were pretty high on Mitchell. I was taking a ton of Darius Garland. I was really high on DeAndre Hunter. I was high on Cavs all over the place. And I think that the fact that they missed Darius Garland to set the table and to really set up Evan Mobley. Evan Mobley had like half the amount of dunks he had all season just last night. I think he had he had like 4 or 5 dunks. He only dunked the ball like 5 or 6, like 7 or 8 times all year. So the offense looked more comfortable. It had its pace. It had its rim pressure. So yeah, I was a little bit worried they'd be maybe like a top 10, 15 offense, but now I feel pretty good that they're ready to be that. Maybe not number one offense, but where they were last year, that's like just unsustainable. But I'm not ready to capitulate that this offense is going to be like top 5.
Looks different with a good point guard out there.
Yeah, right.
That's what I keep coming back to, like as like a lesson that the NBA has taught me in recent years. I'm gonna go. This is gonna sound a little bit counterintuitive because I'm gonna go where I left off with like the Mavs. Right.
Mm-hmm.
We were really high Cooper Flagg. We had a Cooper Flagg like anywhere in the third round. We were good taking Cooper Flagg from a rotisserie, a category-based perspective. I'm not ready to capitulate that Cooper Flagg's not going to hold that value. The path out of where he's dug himself a hole is difficult to see right now, but I still see the talent of the player. I just see bad shot selection in part because of positionally where he's playing. Mm-hmm. And I said, like, I don't know if they have a fix in terms of, figuring out a better point guard that can kind of loosen all these things up. But I do think they have like fixes in that if the season goes really poorly, like you could consider moving on from like a PJ Washington, or like that's a tradable contract, or like Lively or Gafford or different things like that can open up Cooper Flagg playing more positionally, like where you're supposed to be playing, and then getting the shots that where you're supposed to be getting them. But right now, the shot profile for Cooper Flagg has just been like really frustrating to deal with, honestly. He's basically just like not getting to the rim as much as you'd expect. And then he's shooting, right now, he's shooting just 28% from 3 to 10 feet. I just don't think, like, he's too good. He's too big. I think he's going to shoot like 40% from that range. And then his overall shooting percentage is going to get up into the upper 40s, low 50s. But right now he's taking too many long twos and too many threes. That's like 20% of his shot diet right now is long twos and threes. I don't think we need that to be there. I think we need to just finish better in the paint. I think he's like already showing a little bit of an ability to get to the free throw line, but I think that's going to improve. And he's generating steals and blocks at an okay rate now, but the blocks he's playing out of position. So I think the blocks can come if he plays more in position. So I'm not ready to give up on Cooper Flagg yet. I know there's a lot of like knock rate signs. Shooting 39% from the field is just not what I would have ever expected of a player of his caliber through 8 games of the season. But he hasn't missed a free throw yet. He's generating the boards and the assists, and like I think the scoring is going to get better. I think he's going to start shooting better on like floaters and mid-range stuff and the shorter stuff. And I think he's also going to just start playing more aggressively and taking the ball to the rim and getting to the free throw line even more. And so I think there's going to be like a level, there's going to be a time where the light goes off on like how he can attack defenses really aggressively. And I think it's going to open up the efficiency. So I'm still buying that we can get a good result on this Cooper Flagg selection that we were aggressive on. I know it hasn't turned out well to start the season, but I'm not ready to capitulate yet on Cooper Flagg.
Yeah, getting enough rim pressure, enough early, I want to see more for sure. But the catch and shoot stuff's been killing him. 20% on catch and shoot threes, almost all of them uncontested as well. So getting good looks.
He was fine in college. He shot 38% from 3 in college on basically that stuff, right? Like it was like he was at Duke. It was like a very good team. He was getting like wide open stuff. So like he's made those shots before. So I just think some of this is like a little bit of a shooting slump. Maybe a little bit pressure on you to start the season, especially when Anthony Davis goes down. I know he's had the news conference where he's talking about he's never lost this much. So I think he's pressing a little bit. I think it's going to come together for Cooper Flagg, though. And the opportunity's there. I mean, he's playing 33 minutes a game. I don't think that's going to change. Yeah,
and he's getting unassisted on like more than half his shots, which is pretty uncharacteristic for a rookie, wing, which we kind of thought.
Need a point guard.
Yeah, you're not a point guard. Okay, so I'll go to my number 2. I'm going to go to Kawhi Leonard. I'm not ready to capitulate that I was too low on Kawhi Leonard yet. Certainly, the aspiration, the tree stuff feels like it's just not going to happen. Like Pablo keeps having more and more and more evidence, and he's like, "Nah, we're good. So I don't know what the NBA and what Pablo Torre has to keep doing, but it feels like this is just not going to happen, despite how there's so much evidence against him. That said, hey, guess what? Kawhi's hurt now. We're seeing him miss a second game in a row. Maybe Kawhi could just find out missing games somehow, some way. I will capitulate. Bradley Beal was a bad pick. I didn't take that much Bradley Beal. Took a little bit of John Collins, but I'm not ready to capitulate that Kawhi Leonard is going to kind of torpedo and phase out here. And I will also tie this to a team stuff. Holy crap, the Clippers are bad. They're playing terribly. They are the Clippers. They control the game. Be careful. Don't make mistakes. Clippers are giving up the most turnovers in the NBA. They have the most turnovers. They have Chris Paul. They have James Harden, and they're giving up the most turnovers. Harden's played terribly. Had 7 turnovers in the last half he played. Another choke job. They've had 2. They got blown up by Utah in the opener. Their schedule isn't that bad. Let me get the strength of schedule really quick because they've had they should have won.
They've had 5 home games and 2 road games.
Yeah, and they should be like 6-2 or something like to that effect. Yeah. And now they're gonna have to play the Suns. We'll see if they can pull it out here. But yeah, their strength of schedule is it's one of the softest. It's like the 7th softest.
They have a very, very long road trip coming up too.
Yeah,
a 7-game road trip coming up November 14th through November 25th. That finishes with an important group play game in the NBA Cup against the Lakers. But yeah, it's been ugly for the Clippers, and I guess on the capitulation front, is Ty Lue a good coach?
Yeah, I think so.
I was pretty certain Ty Lue was a good coach for a long time.
Yeah.
And then they keep kind of underperforming in the playoffs with Kawhi. And then, like, I don't know. I'm starting to wonder. This roster, it feels like it should be like pretty easy to parse together, but maybe the personalities aren't, in terms of like it seems very clear that they should be starting Chris Dunn, and one of Chris Dunn or Derek Jones Jr. should be on the floor at all times, and probably two of them should be on the floor a bunch. And it seems like it's taking him a lot of time to figure that out.
Yeah, the Clippers, remember the Clippers coaches that had the floor balance, urgency, consistent communication. No, we lost to the Nuggets in transition. That's FUCK. Yeah, that shirt was hilarious. They need to wake the FUCK up and get back on track here. But yeah, go ahead with your second one.
Not ready to capitulate on the Orlando Magic being sad and bad.
Oh.
I'm not ready yet. They have been sad and bad to start the season. And I think the thing that has been most sad is like their offense is still terrible, even with Desmond Bane, who seemed like a perfect fit to add to the offense in terms of needing shooting, but he's not taking threes. Like, what is going on, Jamal Mosley? How is this offense designed that you add Desmond Bane to it and then he doesn't take threes? I don't understand. I still believe in Bane as a player. He's been off to a really slow start. Again, maybe it's pressure and pressing a little bit in fitting in a new system. I still am a big believer in Franz Wagner, my guy, as well. It's been a tough start to the my guy draft for me this season. It's just a slew of underperforming players.
I have Cooper Flagg, by the way. So
yeah, I'm just not ready to capitulate yet on this Magic. Like I have to think that there's a better, like, your offense can't get worse than it was last season when you add Desmond Bane and you have Paolo Banchero and Franz Wagner healthy. Like, it doesn't make any sense to me. So I think they're going to eventually figure this out, but it has been an awful, awful start to the season for the Orlando Magic. Like, and then they're complaining about like, oh, their shots aren't impacting, they're not making shots and it's impacting their defense because their defense is like falling apart. They've stopped playing Jonathan Isaac entirely, which is also part of that. Like, I just don't know what's going on with the roster decisions here and how they're doing things. Like, individually, like Tristan da Silva looks like he's gotten better. Anthony Black looks like he's gotten a little bit better. But all of this is like not gelling. You know, like Tyus Jones looks like we got to.
Yeah.
Tyus Jones, I think we're done. I think I'm done here with Tyus Jones. I'm ready to capitulate on Tyus Jones.
His brother's way better.
Yeah, I need less Tyus Jones. I need more Anthony Black. I need to see some Jonathan Isaac. Why is he not playing at all? I don't know what's going on with Orlando, but I'm not ready to capitulate that they're sad and bad, which they have been to start the season.
Yeah, I'll add the fun part. They're playing faster. They're adding 2 seconds per offensive possession. Yeah. They were almost at 16 seconds, and they're like 13 and a half now. So they're playing faster. They're still not getting enough 3-point shots up. They're playing the same defensively, which we like for DFS. We know how to attack them, but they just got to get their shots to go. This is all fixed by getting Desmond Bane on track. Like, if Desmond Bane gets on track, then they're shooting enough threes, and they're making enough threes, and they're playing a little bit even more faster. They're still top 8 in offensive pace. So yeah, they just got to incorporate their 3-point shooting. I think that'll kind of come together as they play more. My last one, it's a bit of a half, not ready to capitulate. I'm not ready to capitulate that I really screwed up not jamming Alex Sarr. I had Alex Sarr absurdly high. Like I said, him and Keontae George were the first picks in my guy draft last year. I picked on the end. I knew I was picking them. And man, he looks good. The rim attempt rate is way higher. The shot blocking is up. The fouling, the free throw rate on his end, the passing, like everything is up. This is the guy that I was like, my first bet last year was betting Alex Sarr Rookie of the Year, or one of them. And I got off. I didn't like get all the way off the train, but I was like checking to see when the next stop is, and I should not have. I should have just rode that thing all the way. But I'm not ready to say like, oh God, he's going to shove it down my throat. I still got enough best ball, but this is great. I think if you drafted Alex Sarr, you should feel really good. But I wouldn't be like partying and maybe even trade him straight up for Jaren Jackson at this point, something to that effect. But not ready to capitulate. I really screwed up not jamming Alex Sarr again.
Man, he shot 39% as a rookie and 68% from the line. It was like, that's a really, no matter the conversation we've had in the past is like, no matter how good you are in the counting categories, if you're a center with those percentages, it's really hard to make good fantasy value. Well, 8 games through the season, 54% from the field, 80% from the line. Oh my God. what has happened to Alex Sarr? Like, he is now an efficiency king. I don't know how to evaluate how the efficiency has spiked so much, so I'll give it a longer sample to see where it settles. 45.5% from three. He's taking just 2.5 threes a game basically this year. Bravo. Like, bravo to the coaching staff. The shot selection, the decision making has been a lot better. He just seems a lot more comfortable, like, on the catch on pick and rolls. Like, he knows where he's going. Like, he seemed like last year, everything seemed like it was a little bit of a hesitation on, like, okay, is this my shot? Isn't, like, now he seems to know he's making decisions very quickly this year. Super encouraged with Alex Sarr. And I think this, if you're a Wizards fan, that's his growth and Keyshawn George's growth in the offseason are two things to be very, very excited about.
That's a capitulation. We were way too low on Keyshawn George.
Cam Whitmore versus Keyshawn George.
Yeah.
Oh, man.
That's bad.
I don't think we even talked about Keyshawn George in the
we should have
preview. We were just talking about Cam Whitmore because, like, oh God, Cam Whitmore, he's so talented. All these things, like, teams keeps giving up on Cam Whitmore. Yeah. Like, everybody like took him off the draft board, then the Rockets take him, and then 3 years the Rockets don't play him, and then they trade him, and we're like, oh, but he was still supposed to be a top 10 player. And like here, Keyshawn George like goes and just gets way better in the offseason and is just crushing. So
no Chris Middleton last night. 8 minutes for Cam Whitmore. Like, it's dead. Like, it's real dead.
Not good.
All right, what's your last one you're not ready to capitulate on?
My last one, in honor of Winky. I am not ready to capitulate that the Bulls are fun and good. I'm not. I'm just not ready. I know this is all happening without Kobe White. I know that they're 6-1. They have the best record in the Eastern Conference. They've played 5 games at home. They have a point differential of just like plus 4.8, which is like good, but it's the same as Miami Heat, who are 4-4 right now, and have played a lot more road games. I think the Bulls, yes, their win expectations have changed a lot from the start of the season, but they've changed from like 33 to like 39 to 40 or like 40 to 42, something like that. I don't think they're a contender. And all I can think of this entire season is if they did one thing differently in the offseason, no matter what happened, this season would be fun because we would still have a shot at the lotto balls that I've been yearning for these last few years. Just accept the gift that Joe Dumars is trying to give you by trading the 2026 unprotected first round pick to move up to get Derek Queen. Just accept. It's a gift put on your doorstep. Just open the door, take the gift, and move on. No, we needed to draft a 17-year-old who's not going to play at all this year, basically, instead, and then be good enough to not get great lotto balls in a very good top-end draft class. And it's just like, no matter how good they are this year, because I don't think they can be like legitimately good to the point that they're like a playoff contender, like a win a series playoff contender. It's just not fun when you know that is what the front office, they're willing to turn down gifts that are given to them that can like propel this franchise to a different level. So every time they win, the only thing that brings me joy is it brings my father joy. And he texts me like, Bulls win. And he's so excited. That's the only part I get of joy of it. Immediately after that wears off, I think of Arturas and refusing that trade and how this group is just like destined to be in the play-in. And just stuck in the play-in forever. And I can't handle mediocrity. So I'm not ready to capitulate that the 6-1 Bulls are fun and good.
What about the fun part? You don't think they're fun? They're not a fun watch to you?
It's not fun for me knowing that they're mediocre. Like, I get it. They play in a fun way and they're sharing the basketball, and that's great. And Matas is very exciting as a young player. And like Giddey looks like he's going to be a good regular season player. I think he'll always struggle in the playoffs with the limitations that he has, but he looks like he's going to be a good regular season player. I get like, and they're doing it without Kobe White. Patrick Williams is playing a lot better this year. So like there are bright spots, and Billy Donovan is a hell of a coach, like a really good coach. But man, it is not fun when the aim point for me is mediocrity. And that's what it feels like. It feels like they're aiming to be just above average. And that doesn't feel like a fun aim point for me because it feels like stuck here forever. And like what this is ultimately going to result in, like them continue to make the play-in and like limp into the playoffs or whatever, it's just going to result in all these people keeping their jobs that are just aiming for mediocrity and aren't even trying. Like Arturis hasn't even tried at the trade deadline the last 3 years when they've had clear motivations to move people. Like hasn't even really tried. So I don't like rewarding this mediocrity, and I feel so every time they win or they play well, it just like bothers me. And I love Billy Donovan. I think he's such a good coach. And so I don't blame him for like trying to get the best out of that roster all the time and doing his best to do it. But God, it's not fun when like you just feel like, okay, 3 years from now, what am I ultimately going to get out of this? Like, as a fan, I'm going to get maybe like 10 fun regular season games and then like nothing else.
Yep.
Not that interesting to me as a fan. Yep. So not ready to capitulate.
Well, from my perspective, they're fun because I know how they're going to play. Like,
yeah.
Like they give up the most rim points. They give up the second fewest catch and shoot stuff. They get to the rim a ton. I just like they play fast. They pass the Blazers in transition points per game.
Yeah.
I love like on a spreadsheet. I think they're real fun. But they're definitely like I'm with you. Like if I'm a Bulls fan, I'm a Jets fan, right? I love Sauce Gardner. I love William. I love those dudes.
Yeah.
They're great. Like I'm very happy we chose a direction.
Yeah, exactly. Choose a direction. It's like we're already like the Jets are already bad with all these guys. Like what's the point?
Yep.
So like I think the Bulls, I think they're gonna trick themselves into thinking that the whole thing is working. And it's working in a way that the players are getting better because the coach is really good and the players were young. So they're going to keep getting better. But it's not working in the way that this team can, in my opinion, can take a leap like the Cavs took, right? There's no dominant player that you look at that like Donovan Mitchell or Evan Mobley that you're like, oh, these guys can take us to a new level that like we can aspire to. I don't see like maybe I'll be proven wrong by Josh Giddey and maybe Matas can develop into this. He's very young and there's still hope for that to be the case. But we're really far away from seeing a path that like jumps us to like, oh, I can see us winning a playoff series. Like this stuff is not going to work in the playoffs. That's working right now in the regular season, which is just like play fast and harder than everybody. It doesn't work in the playoffs. Miami's going to run into the same problems with like your gimmicky offense that like nobody has time to prepare for. That's probably not going to work in the playoffs. And I grew up spoiled as a Chicago Bulls fan. Playoff basketball was about winning, and it was about winning championships. It wasn't about like maybe we can win a play-in game. And so like I'm just like I'm spoiled. I don't like this isn't fun for me. The play-in is not fun each and every year. I'd rather be bad and then have a shot at hoping about being good than being stuck in the middle forever.
Yeah. They're not even like honest, like I said, on paper, they're like top 10 in offense and defense, and they had the best record in the East. They're just so good down the stretch. They have a plus 58.3 net rating in clutch. Over 16 minutes of clutch time.
And that stuff I think is
Sixers game was crazy.
That stuff I think is early season continuity. Like these guys have played together a lot and effort and like energy. I think they're wearing teams down, which is something they do from like playing fast. I think those are benefits that they have early season that will wear off as you get into like meaningful basketball.
Yep. This was super fun. Always nice to take some L's. A lot of them, unfortunately, some W's too. But nice to go over the L's and potential L's coming, but we're not ready yet. Anything else to get us out of here?
Now, as always, appreciate you guys supporting our content, whether free or paid. If you're interested in checking out any of the paid stuff, you can go to establishedrun.com/subscribe for more details on our premium NBA product offerings, the player props package, the NBA DFS package, the full stat projections package, whatever suits your needs as a gambler, as a DFS player. We've got you covered with projections each and every day for every game. I feel really good about the work that we're putting in this year, both on the projection side. I know there's been a ton of screenshots in the DFS Discord. Seeing a lot of people have a lot of success there. I think our content has been really on point. So really proud of the work that we're putting out over there. If you're interested in participating on the premium side, give us a shout over at establishedrun.com/subscribe-NBA.
Exciting. We're 10% through. Tough 10%. The first 10% is really hard. The last 10% is really hard. Excited for the meat of the season. So come join us and we'll appreciate you guys and we'll catch you next time.